Cruisin' 92.1 is WVLT Vineland, serving the Delaware Valley with the best music and the best talk.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect that of radio station WVLT, Clear Communications Incorporated, its staff and management, or our sponsors. WVLT Clear Communications Incorporated retains the right to record all phone calls received during this program for future promotions.
Hello, everybody. Another great Saturday. Every Saturday from 1 to 2, it's Main Street Money with Joe Yakovich and my all-star co-host, Tracy Kelly. Hello, Tracy.
Hi, Joe.
How's everything?
I've been better.
A little under the weather, my girl Tracy,
summer
today.
Sickness here.
Yes. I'm a little sad with that.
You're
when you're
sad.
sick, Tracy, it just seems, I don't know if it's just the weather knows when you're sick and it starts to rain, it starts to get nasty, but I'm hoping you're going to be better for Saturday.
That's because when I feel miserable, everyone should be miserable.
Yes. That's nothing wrong with that. That's a good attitude to have. I mean,
Just kidding. Yeah, the weather. Gosh, when are we going to get summer? I mean, I know it's not summer yet, but come on.
crazy, isn't
A little
it?
heat, a little sunshine.
Yeah,
Nice heat wave. I wouldn't mind.
Yes, I need some
Last weekend was
consistent
nice. I like that.
hot weather for a
Actually,
while.
You were out and about traveling in that heat.
Yes,
wave,
you know
weren't
what? I went to our capital, Washington D.C. Last weekend.
I thought you meant Trenton.
Pardon me?
I thought maybe you meant Trenton.
No, I thought Trenton. It's Trenton. It's not. Just get it right.
Trenton.
Anyway, I went to D.C. If anyone out there is listening to me, I hope they get a chance to take that trip to Washington, check out the White House, the Capitol, and some other beautiful places. Georgetown, I hung out, and let me tell you something. What a great place. It's just, you can see where our money is being spent also, ladies and gentlemen. But I will tell all of you, I attended one museum in particular. I went to a few of them, but one in particular really got me and pretty much steadfast in my tracks. Holocaust Museum was really, you need to see it. I mean, for those of you that get a chance to go, please visit that particular museum. It will definitely get you to look at things completely different. And it's pretty amazing how they set it up and what they did. It was really amazing. And not only you heard people that went through that issue with their life in the 30s and 40s and such, but you saw and you smelled. I mean, it was I could have stayed a little longer. Yeah, what they had a special. As we were walking around, they had an area where they actually had the people's shoes, and it was probably about a foot high of shoes in around a 20 by 20 container, and it was really, really, when you saw that.
What did it symbolize?
People dying.
But what did you? I don't understand what you smelled.
It was like the smell of the shoes, the must from that room really resonated. And
God,
really
I don't think I could handle that.
Yeah, it was something to never forget. But on some other issues for the week, unfortunately, our good friend Deacon Jones, all-time one of the original SAC leaders, passed away at age 74. And another woman that, I don't know if you know this, Tracy, Esther Williams passed away at age 90.
I know Esther Williams.
Yes.
I pretend to be her in the swimming pool.
I'm
not kidding.
Yes, I'm telling you, Esther Williams passed away.
You have not seen my synchronized swimming choreography.
I think she put that together originally, wasn't the synchronized swimming thing?
I don't know if she was the original, but she's the name.
I don't know if you knew this, Tracy, but in 1940, Esther Williams had an opportunity to go to the Olympics. And unfortunately, that was the year they boycotted because of the wars, and she didn't get an opportunity to compete in the Olympics. So, but 1940, that's when her fame was at the highest at that time. Pretty interesting. And she passed away at age 90.
I wonder if she really enjoyed all the progress when it came to waterproof makeup lately. Stuff to stay on your face.
I never thought of it that way, to tell you the truth.
It's important to think about these things.
Waterproof makeup, absolutely. I don't wear it, but I'm sure you do. No, you do?
I've seen you with a little guy liner.
Come on now, only for
Absolutely,
TV. Only for TV. Another thing in the news. You know what? I don't know if you remember. I think we were there that day, Tracy, in Philadelphia, where one of the buildings fell down.
we were 3 blocks away
Yep.
and didn't even know it.
Yeah, I think it was a little earlier than when we were traveling.
was,
We were
but,
in Philadelphia that day on some business, and
Yeah, the building that toppled down on, I believe it was 22nd and Market, maybe
Right.
21st something and Market. And Joe, you and I had a meeting at the Pyramid Club, which was only a few blocks away.
yeah, pretty crazy.
And I can't believe we didn't see anything. I think they said the death toll was at 6 people,
6 people now?
unfortunately.
And about 15
Yeah.
or so hurt, or and what have you.
Yeah,
so.
and I heard on the news yesterday already that lawsuits are being filed. And you know what? I have a feeling some heads are going to roll, because how do you have people in a building that's being demolished?
Right.
How
And
do
that
you
building
have
was
a building next door? It just doesn't make any sense. I'm no engineer, but
Yeah.
it doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, that was a big issue, and they're still talking about that. Among other things, the IRS scandal is widening, with the agency admitting, some of the things that we've been hearing about for the last week. More stuff in the news. The market took a dive this week, down 200 plus, but it dipped under 15,000. And then now it's back up over 15,000 too. So again, the volatile markets are, as usual, as we've been telling folks about, that stay in the market, stay long, stay prudent. Don't get out when you see what's going on, and some of the issues are China, Japan, and they're also having their issues. But be prudent investors. Don't get out when the market's doing what it's doing. Just stay long and what have you. NASDAQ is also up. Closed or in the area of about 3460, and the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies, was up a little bit, 1638 it closed. What's also, we keep on reiterating this, Tracy, and because of some of the things that you're doing, trying to sell your property and what have you, is that interest rates again beeped up a little bit, but on the long, 30-year fixed rates are hovering just about 4%, a little smidget above. Last week they were in the 3.8 range. 15 years are 3.17, again a little up from last week, and the 1-year arms are 2%, and you have some other mortgage rates, but they're the ones that we want to talk to people about. There's still a great opportunity to purchase and sell homes in this market. We're seeing that.
Especially first-time home buyers.
Yep. The other thing, the market, or should I say the economy, is not, setting the world on fire, but it is moving very, very slowly in a positive. So we at least it's not going down. It is still moving.
Well, maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Slow and steady. Those huge ups and downs, they're a little tumultuous. So maybe building it steadily the right way is not such a bad thing.
Yeah. The other thing is we always talk about, because of what we do in terms of retirement planning, you know what? The boomers, all those boomers out there that are 65 but really think they're really 55, they're still hard at work. They're still putting the time in. They're still realizing, you know what? I might live to 100. I better get all my time in and do more or better saving. So that's happening, which is something we don't like to see, but it's one of those necessities of what's happening with the boomers aging. Remember, your home, we also use home as part of your nest egg, so be careful how you do that and how you take that money. But again, being a boomer, being in retirement, get ready. You guys will have a long, what we call Saturdays?
You guys, you're not
You
one of
ladies
those?
and guys.
You're not a baby boomer?
No, not yet. I'm a little bit. I'm on the fringe
Well,
of the
you're-
beginning.
yeah.
I'm on the fringe of the beginning of being
the
the baby
end.
boomer. Not the end. No. I'm at the end. Is that
Yeah,
end
the
or
end
beginning?
of-
End or
Well, if
beginning?
you were at the beginning of the baby boomers, you would be much older.
Okay, so I'm at the end.
So
of the
you're
baby
at the tail
At
end
the
of the boom.
real tail.
You're the caboose of the boom. There's another word for the caboose. You are the rear.
The rear. Thanks for sharing that with all the
Some might call it the butt.
our listening audience. I appreciate that very much, very much. And also next week we're going to have the senator on the show, Senator Beach, in the 3rd District. He'll be talking to us next week. He'll be talking to us about the veterans, some of the things that the veterans are doing, also legislature that he put together, and some of the bills that are in pending status, and also things that we're all going to talk about next week about what what was approved and what is pending in
Yeah,
New
so
Jersey.
if you live in South Jersey, especially Camden County, you definitely want to listen. And if you have any questions that you'd like for us to ask the senator, we would be happy to consider it.
Yes.
Please shoot us a line at www.jmlfinancialgroup.com, or you can give us a call, 856-751-1771. We would definitely like your input, and we would love to hear what you want us to ask him.
You know what? The other thing has been really crazy in the last at least a couple weeks. I'm sure.
Do you want me to guess?
Well, one thing. Have you seen what's been going on with the weather?
Have I seen it? Well, I do wake up and live.
I mean, but sometimes you don't listen
You
to the
mean
station.
our weather or
No, just
weather in general? It's been crazy out there. But you know what? I think it's been that way for a while. I mean,
No,
with
I
tornadoes
mean,
and hurricanes.
I mean,
and
yeah, it's a lot of tornadoes, which is wow, that's
awful.
I never seen. I mean, pretty amazing.
I mean, I know that they're used to having tornadoes out in the Midwest, but these have been just horribly intense. And I don't know if it's just that they're bigger, because I've heard that the radius of these tornadoes was something like a mile.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't really outrun it. It's a mile. I just cannot even imagine. But,
Yeah, some of
and
the
then
crazy stuff.
I've heard that we are in for a summer of hurricanes.
Yes, so
So that's
Not
going to put a
looking
damper
forward-
on some summer travel, I believe.
yeah, pretty crazy, isn't it?
Although your plants will like it.
Oh, my plants are loving it. At the break, before we go off on our first break, we're going to talk about coming back. We're going to discuss some issues on how people purchase insurance. We're going to also talk about some questions that we received this week from the emails we've received, and also some of the other things that we talk about on how our firm works and why we do what we do for our clients. And we'll go over that with all of you at the next break here. Anything you want to add?
It's a lot of stuff, Joe. That's pretty lofty and ambitious of you. So I
I'm going
guess
to do my best to get all of it in today.
Well, that sounds super exciting.
All good stuff,
We will catch you on the other side of the break. It's Main Street Money on 92.1 WVLT.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I heard you, Joe.
I mean the listening audience, Tracy.
Okay, when?
Every Saturday at 1 o'clock, we get real about money and we have fun.
That's right. We'll simplify all the issues when it comes to your money and give you some tips on how to make it, protect it, and keep it.
But they have to listen.
Okay, you can only ask nicely.
All right. That's Main Street Money with Joe Yakovich and Tracy Kelly, Saturday at 1 p.m. on Cruisin' 92.1 WVLT. We're back with Main Street Money with Joe Yakovich and Tracy Kelly every Saturday from 1 to 2. Tracy, I was going to talk to you about some of the things that we do for our clients and some of the processes we put in place. I know we talk to our clients all the time. It's not about the products, it's about the process and how a lot of these things fit together to really maximize the person's wealth and lower their risk. And I want to share some information with the audience. Is there anything you want to start off by?
Real quick before we get to the,
Sure.
the meat of our show, we did have a call during the break just asking us to repeat some of that contact information for people who wanted to ask questions to the senator. So
Sure.
you can always find us online at www.jmlfinancialgroup.com or give us a call at 856-751-1771. That's if you have any questions or any topics that you'd like for us to discuss with Senator Beach next week, or if you just have a question for us, we're always interested to understand what our audience is interested in.
Good point, Tracy. Yeah, Senator will be on next week, so we'll be having an opportunity to talk to him and see what his thoughts are on some of the ideas that we talked earlier this week. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, when we meet with people and individuals or couples, we take them through a conversation of product versus process. And, everybody in our world, I guess we're lucky in some ways that, they hang up a shingle and they call themselves financial planners. But, after you look at what the financial planning business has done, most of the financial planners that we run into or see or hear about, all they're concerned about is just putting assets under management. And that's not the whole story when you're dealing with people's wealth, moving forward with risk, dealing with taxes, dealing with investments, dealing with legacy planning, how to get your son or daughter in school the right way.
What exactly do you mean by assets under management?
People put money under management because it's a couple of ways that people invest money. You can invest it into a traditional bucket of stocks and bonds that we call mutual funds. And most of them that are out there, the mutual fund market, there's probably between 150 to 200 companies and such are in these buckets of money. And supposedly they're diversified. And there's about, 10,000, maybe 11,000 mutual funds are out there. And the sad part of it is that some of these funds that don't do that well end up liquidating and taking that money and going back into the family of funds, because it is a family of funds. You have a Vanguard or you have a Fidelity, and that's what they do. When I talk about diversification and prudent investing or, global economy, I'm looking at, 10, 12,000 different investments in a 45 country asset class with 22 asset classes in 45 countries. So we're looking at the big picture to invest our clients' money. So when you're talking about managed money, that's one of the things that we do for our clients. But getting back to what we were talking about, it's that process I use and we both use. And it's not the product. It's being able to be the financial quarterback among your other investors, your accountant or your attorney or your stockbroker or your insurance person or your property and casualty person. What
or
we
in
do.
this day and age, the internet.
Yes, well, or
that's
your
a big
Uncle
place
Bill
that
that wants to
people
give you his
go
advice, right?
And get some kind of information, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
And that is what we do. We kind of sit or stand in the middle with you to determine everyone in that group of people, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing for the benefit of themselves or for the benefit of you? And are any of those professionals talking to the other professionals? And we find that that's not the case here. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, I have never seen that happen before. So our process is much different, much more unique and verifiable. And one of the things that we find that people have the biggest issue, and I'm sure you would agree with this, how do we make decisions? How do you make decisions? Do you make it by facts or opinions? Are you getting opinions from all these professionals? Or are you actually getting the mathematical facts on making that sound decision?
I asked my astrologer.
You asked your astrologer. That's a good one. That's
Remember
one
those,
of
those
that's
magic
one of many.
8-balls from the 80s?
Yes,
Where you would shake
I
it
remember
up
that.
and
I
you
do
would
remember
ask
the
it a
80s, and I do
question.
remember the 8-ball.
That's how I make my decisions.
Nice. And I guess that's one of many ways you can do that. I don't know if it's the best way, but it's one way, and you can see.
No,
that-
you bring up a very good point, and we do ask people a lot, and it sounds like a silly question. How do you make your decisions? Do you base them off of fact or opinion? And I think that, I don't know, you kind of want to tell yourself that you base things off of fact. Oh, I'm only factual, but myself included, sometimes I tend to take opinions into consideration.
Well, I would probably have to say there's about 6 things that I can think of, maybe more, that we're faced with, the problems that we're faced with. One, you said earlier about the technology, situation. We lack the time and expertise because there's so much information being thrown at us in so many different ways. What do we believe?
Oh, yeah. It's like trying to diagnose yourself on the internet.
Correct.
You go to WebMD, the Mayo Clinic,
Right.
random blogs, and all of a sudden you've got 35 different terminal illnesses plus one that only affects people in, Cambodia.
Right. Another thing that the institutions are always after our dollar. You give us money, and that's what they're telling all of us. They want to hold it on as long as possible. They want to give it back to us as little as possible. An example, this would be a CD. They want to hold it on for a year so they can lend it out many times. And that's a big issue in our marketplace. That's one of the problems that we're faced with. The other problem I think that's the most important problem that we find is emotion. We're incapable of managing our own money. We buy and sell at the wrong time. We buy and sell on greed and fear. When should I buy? When should I sell? And that's not the way to do business, and that's not the way to invest money.
Well, humans, we're just emotional people. It's very difficult to get away from that. I don't care who you are. When the market's up, it's exciting, and you want to buy. And when it's down, it's depressing, and it's scary, and it's fearful. And you can't control emotion, and you can't take it away. That's why I think sometimes it's important to have a professional with you to help manage that emotion, to say either, calm down.
Right.
Don't
I
go
guess
too
that's
fast.
I guess this is one of the things we both are good at, I think great at.
Well, when it comes to our business,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah, that's our job. But, that's what a professional in that whatever industry is supposed to do. No different than your doctor does. I know I've gone into my doctor a few times going, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. And they say, just calm down. It's strep throat. You'll be all right.
You'll be fine.
But that's what their job is to do, is to manage my emotion as well as, do the technical aspect of their job. And that's a big part of our job. I mean, Joe, how many times has somebody gotten really excited about a stock? Like, remember when Facebook went public?
Oh,
and,
please.
People are going, I want to buy Facebook. I want to buy Facebook. And we're going,
You are
calm
kidding me.
down.
Right.
And I think those clients would say thank you to us now, those that did not buy it. But it was exciting, and you thought it was going to boom.
And that obviously never happens, unfortunately. I mean, anybody that knows the market and hopefully talk to us, those IPOs, most of them in the beginning, the first year, don't do as well as what you think they do. The other thing is I've been doing this for, I think, going on 31 years, Tracy. I don't know if you know that. But I'll tell you, I've probably seen 50, give or take, government changes in the rules that they play, the tax law change. So,
The IRS, I think that they have to justify their jobs. They
Right,
got to change
and-
the rules a million times.
right. And one of the things that we do all the time is find those loopholes in the tax code to maximize people's wealth. I mean, think about it. We're the richest country on the planet. Only 3 out of 100 people who retire at age 65 will have over $50,000 of income. And that's sad. That's really sad if you think about it. So it's something we need to address, and it's something that we need to talk about with our clients, and we do it every day that way.
Well, the other thing with all those tax law changes is you may have an investment or a retirement plan or strategy that 10 years ago was perfect based on the tax law 10 years ago. It's our job to be as up as possible on whatever the current tax changes are, to say, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Client, this worked 10 years ago, but because they've changed the tax laws, this is not working, or there's something that's more efficient. And if your planner is not taking those things into consideration, you really may be in for a rude awakening.
And it's funny you mentioned that particular situation, but 401ks, back in the day when they were invented, tax laws were high. They've come down somewhat, but who's to say what those tax brackets for all of us will be in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now? Who knows?
Right. And who knows what those particular vehicles will be taxed at.
Right.
Ordinary income. Who's to say 10 years from now it's not ordinary income plus 5%?
And they're doing some of that right now. They are adding into, even
Social Security.
Social Security is being taxed, correct?
Alternative minimum tax. You're losing certain deductions.
Correct.
I mean, that's a great way to not, quote, add any new taxes. You just take away certain deductions.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll lastly talk about in terms of, some of the problems we're all faced with is we talked about media, but is the misinformation and the falsehoods of what is written and said about. Like, for instance, I remember just within, I guess, the last 6 months, I'm at the airport and I picked up one of the magazines, typical magazine. We all read them. We all see them. We
Like
all
a
know
money
who they are.
magazine?
One of. Financial magazine, a Money or one of those magazines type, and talked about the top 10 funds of all time. The following month, when I went back to the airport for some other businesses or business leaving, I I read the same magazine, and it was another top 10 mutual funds of
So
all
did you go
time.
buy those?
So what
those
should I
other
have bought?
10?
The month prior or that month? I don't know. So it's that
You know, that's a
information.
great way for Wall Street to get very, very wealthy.
Oh, they
is
love it.
buy these this month. Now drop them. Buy these this month. Now drop them. Gosh, that's a good game. I like it.
And our job is to alleviate some of those myths that we continue to discuss with our clients, because it's about the myth. It's about really getting down deep with people
Well-
to get them to understand how some of the things that they're working on or working with actually functions not only in their kind of a one singular way, but in a lot of ways, in a lot of different things that we do talk about with our clients. That's where we sit in the middle with all of you to discuss all those other professionals working for you versus working for themselves.
Sure, and then it just becomes a matter of sort of staying disciplined and organized, because I think you'll agree with me, it's human nature to be entertained and excited by things that are changing all the time. So, you know, how much magazine would Money sell if they gave you the top 10 mutual funds and they were the same January through December?
Right.
That's boring. What do I have to buy it for? Or if February's magazine said, you know what, stick to what you did in January because it looks good, they wouldn't sell any magazines.
No, at all. And that's
Or, you know, the news articles and news radio shows, things like that prey on that kind of drive-by accident sort of attention-grabbing strategy for ratings.
they love it. I mean, obviously the radio and TV and magazines love bad press, and bad press sells, you know, what they're trying to, showcase to everyone. But if we sit and understand what is really happening, the truth, and understand to be able to empower that truth with you and make those decisions, clear and concise and somewhat educated decisions, our decisions will be completely different than they would have been if you didn't have that information. So,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, it tends to be very difficult to know where to get that information and what's right. And that is why we always tell clients, my job, first and foremost, is, just sit and hang out with you for a little bit and be that person that reviews what all of your other advisors and all of your other accounts are doing. Because it's not that your CPA is out for themselves necessarily or making bad decisions, but they might not have taken into consideration a taxable event that's happening 10 years from now. They're taking into consideration what's happening today. And maybe your attorney doesn't even know anything about this because he just hadn't looked at those documents. That's what we want to do, because you know what? If I can save you a couple percentage points in taxes, if I can,
consolidate some debt.
absolutely get a little bit more cash flow into your pocket, wouldn't you just like me a little bit better?
Well, not only better, wouldn't it be nice to be able to take that spread difference from savings, from tax strategy planning that we do with our clients every day, or show them how to consolidate certain things together to free up an extra 15 or 10 or 15% of your gross income, and then drive that back into some type of saving vehicle for yourself? That's kind of how that works with us. That's what we do all the time. It's more about the process versus the product. That's a key element on our what we do.
Absolutely, because think about it, folks. For those of you out there that do have a quote financial planner, and there's many different ways that you can translate what that title is.
Right.
What has he or she done for you?
Right.
Truly. Now think about that question. What have they done for you? Most likely, your answer is they've invested some money. How have they done? Some of you may say good, some of you may say bad. All right, that's great. And when you go back to them for a review or you call them, what do they want from you?
More money.
And do you feel more protected, more comfortable, like you have peace of mind? If the answer to that's no, you might want to consider if they're actually
A little second opinion there.
yeah.
But one thing I want to touch on today, Tracy, is because we get this question asked of us quite a bit, is how much insurance, life insurance, should I own? And What does
Try
that
to-
look like?
Try typing that into Google.
Yeah, and you're right, right. Well, we have discussions with people all the time about life insurance, and I'm going to give you an example. If you were able to generate 5% a year on an investment, and let's take life insurance of $1 million of death benefit, it would generate about $50,000 per year. So if you wanted, $100,000 of income, it would generate. You would have to have a $2 million policy, $2 million death benefit as a life insurance policy. Now, most people ask us, which is kind of what we hear, is how much costs? What is it going to cost us? And that's the big situation. How much will it cost you? So I'll break this down easily for those of you. One, you can buy what we call term insurance. Now, term insurance is like renting insurance or renting your apartment. You keep on paying for it for as long as you stay in your apartment. It could go up. Most of the time it stays level for anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30 years, and then it's over with. Now, the problem we're faced with there is health issues. Now, some of the health issues that I know about are bipolar health issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, overweight, smoker. So think about it. Even a driving
Age.
record today
Age.
can, what is it?
Even age.
Age?
Age can be a health issue. When it comes to insurance, the older that you get, the more that your life insurance costs.
Well, I don't, and you and I were in a property and casualty business back in the day, and even your bad driving record could affect the life insurance dollar amount that they charge you today.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Certain things on your driving record make it difficult or impossible
Correct.
to get life insurance.
So that being said, so be careful. Number one, compare. Number two, remember buying term insurance is going to run out. So the biggest concern is then, do you want life insurance forever? So we are big proponents of purchasing permanent insurance where you have it forever, and it does build up some value. But remember, folks, have a discussion with your planner, whoever that person may be. If it's us or someone else, make sure you not only discuss your insurance needs and concerns, but 401k, investments, and investments outside that quote-unquote qualified plan. When I say qualified, I'm talking about IRAs and or 401ks, where when you do receive the money sometime in the future, you'll have to pay your tax guy back. So these are the questions that I want you to start to think about and start to ask the people you're working with.
And really just consider it more than just, what is the life insurance going to do for me today? What do I want it to do in 20 years, in 30 years, in 50 years? Do I ever want it to run out?
Right.
You need to ask those questions. And I'll tell you what, Joe, you know it as well as I do. We sit with many people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that are very upset that
Right.
their term insurance ran out and it's gone.
Gone forever. And what normally happens is, unfortunately, older you get, it becomes not only more costlier, but your health changes. So you want to take us back to the next hour there, Tracy Kelly?
The next hour, Joe, I'm not hanging out with you that long
Come
today.
on now. Come on.
We have a break coming up, but we will be back after that to close up the show, close up the 1 hour, and wish you a good weekend. Stick with us. Are you approaching 65 and starting to think about Medicare? Or maybe you're about to retire and you're unsure what to do for your health care coverage. Or maybe you've been on Medicare for years but are unsure.
Left a good job.
I love that song. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, we're back. Main Street Money, Joe Yakovich, Tracy Kelly, every Saturday from 1 to 2. We're going to finish it up the next 20 or so minutes. Tracy had some questions for Joe Yakovich today. Shoot.
Well, not so many questions that I have for you, but I wanted to go through some questions that we tend to ask to our clients, but I want you to ask to yourself out there today, and really take stock of how you feel about money, because we talked earlier in the hour, Joe, about emotion and its effect on how you make financial decisions, and how that can sometimes overrule any kind of logic or anything else that you have going on. Wouldn't you agree?
I completely agree with you. I think that just you really need to be somewhat look at basics in the world that we live in. But when you ask me that, get more specific. I'm not. You're looking at me like I'm a little bit.
Wouldn't you
out
agree
there.
that people's emotion tends to overrule any kind of logic on occasion?
I think we
when we're
did. I think we
talking about-
discussed. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
So what I wanted to go through was some of these questions that we tend to ask clients, and I
Yep.
really would encourage all of you to ask yourself that and take a gauge on where your emotion is when it comes to your money. First question: why do you work?
Why do you work? Do you have to work or do you want to work? That's a good question. Most people have to work to make a living and build a future for their family, for their children, what have you. So, find something that you love to do and do it. It's not called working. I love what I do and I do what I love. So for me, I'm one of the lucky ones that I'm able to work with you and what I do to help clients. I mean, it's never going to change, folks. I mean, I'll have my pen here, I have my little laptop here, and I'll have my, my little paper. When I meet with you, my life will never change no matter what happens. Your life will change. So we want to be able to, in what we do, we want to make sure we change your life. And it's one of the things we talk about is that emotion. Try to drive the emotion down so we can have you understand how things work. That's my answer. What's your answer?
You never know when you meet people that'll change your life.
No, I think I change people's life. I really do. I think when you're sitting with me, no question in my mind, straightforward, that I can actually say that. I have people have come into our life and what we do and have said to us, and I can prove to you in my office, we have letters upon letters, people saying to us how much they appreciate us and what we do and how we work as a family to help them. They can call us anytime. We give them straight answers. We get right back to them. I had a client today call me at 8:30 in the morning. I want an appointment or going to an appointment in North Jersey. He called me. I got back with him within an hour. Matter of fact, you followed that call up with another appointment we had to get with him. So we say what we say and we do what we do. There's a difference. A lot of people talk the talk and cannot walk the walk. We just happen to be lucky enough to have a team of people that we surrounded ourselves with. A team. That's not one, that's multi-people that we work with to help our clients achieve exactly what they're looking for and what they want.
Wow, you really went off and running
I
with
didn't
that.
go off. That's what we
all
do.
I was saying was, I'm not disputing you change people's
Don't
lives.
you believe that?
I just said I was not disputing that.
Oh,
All I
but
said was, you said that your life doesn't change. And I was disputing the fact that you never know when somebody might come into the almighty Joe Yakovich's life and maybe just change it. We all change each other's lives every day. You don't believe that.
Phew, that's out there.
No,
You
you
must
don't.
be that
You
astrologer.
just think you change
astrologist
other.
you were
You
listening
just
to.
think that you change other people's lives. That's it. Anyway.
I hope so. That's my attempt.
Anyway.
Is to empower that person.
Before I hit you with my shoe.
Go. What's the next one?
The next question that we ask
Question
people
number
are,
2.
what are your views about money? This is an important one.
This
What
is
are
a
your
question
views?
that we talk to people about. What are your views? I mean, you know what? We heard this, if you recall, we heard this week. Do you remember who we heard it from?
I believe it was the CPA we were
You
sitting
got it.
with.
The first thing this CPA came in our office this week, spoke with Tracy and myself, and the first thing she said, or one of the first things she said, she goes, it's just funny how people come to her talking about money and investing, and you can tell it is the way they were brought up by their parents. She even said, you know what she said? She said some of the people actually had money in cans in the back of their yard.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
And it's kind of funny when you hear that from an accountant viewpoint on exactly what we've been talking to people about all the time. It's how you came into this money or how do you view money will somewhat determine on how you invest money for the future for you and your family. So we kind of dispel the myth and start to educate folks on how money works and how the wealthy people look at money. Wealthy people, we just do the same thing as wealthier people do, and we just kind of emulate that same process that they use.
It also comes down to, it's not necessarily wrong or right, whatever your parents thought. It's just understanding the emotional approach you take to money. If you are mostly a saver, maybe sometimes you're a little too conservative.
Right.
If you are very impulsive with your buys, we need to understand that about our clients. And as the client themselves, you need to understand that about yourself to know, where do I need my discipline?
You're not impulsive, are you, at all?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No, and that's the truth. You know that I'm not
Excuse
impulsive
me.
with my
If
purchases.
I'm not mistaken, the shoe stores that you pass, they call your name sometimes.
They call my name, and I certainly go in, but I very rarely walk out with a bag.
You do?
I just really enjoy being around every so often. You know what? I stalk my prey. And I know exactly what I got to go in there. I've got to go like 2 or 3 times, and then no, I do not come out with 3, 4, 5.
You get some deals though. There's no question in my mind. You are a deal maker and deal breaker.
I just walked out with a designer purse from DSW the other day. I had like 4 coupons going in, plus I knew the day I was on. I walked out with a $90 purse for like $19.
My girl,
So,
she
no.
knows
The
things.
answer to your question is
she
I'm not
knows
impulsive.
things. Listen to her. Go ahead. Next.
We asked this before, but it's very important to repeat.
Sure.
Do you base your decisions more on opinion or fact?
That's a tough one. We do our best to give people, as much information that they can receive at one time. But it all comes down to their gut. Do they believe what we're talking to them about? Are they asking the right questions of their other professionals? I mean, that's a big hurdle to get over, because we said earlier they might be getting information from their accountant, their attorney, their stockbroker, their property and casualty person, their banker, and obviously Uncle Bill, their brother-in-law, that wants to give them information. So it's
and when it comes to your finances, it's really important that those decisions need to be based on fact. So whoever is giving you any kind of advice, just ask for the fact,
right.
the facts to back it up. It's one thing to base the decision on where to go to dinner tonight on an opinion. That's
Right.
great. That's fine. The fact of just the menu may not be good enough. I'll ask my neighbor, did you go to such and such place? Was it good? Great.
Cool.
But if my neighbor says that this is the latest stock
It's
pick
crap,
or this is
yeah.
what they're doing,
You got it.
you know what? I'm going to ask for the fact behind that.
Good point.
Next thing.
Very good point.
Do you truly understand how the wealthiest people think about money and make their financial decisions?
We always use the analogy of, do you realize that 10% of the people in America own 90% of the wealth?
Repeat that.
What is it?
Repeat that.
10% of the people in America own 90% of the wealth. And 90% of the people in America own 10% of the wealth. Now, the first part of that conversation, they are what we call the uncommon folk. They do things uncommon. And the latter one are the folks that do things common. If anything, with our conversations, we do our best not only to educate, but we get people to think uncommon. Now, uncommon does not necessarily mean taking more risk. It does not. It means to be thinking more uncommon. And that's another conversation that we do have with all our clients. It's being able to think uncommon in the environment that has been promoted to think common. So if we can get people to think uncommon just a little bit and get them to understand it, and what you said earlier, to back up that fact, we
Right,
have a
and
situation in our hands.
It comes down to, we realize that those of us in the 90% majority, we may never go up to that 10% of the wealthiest. But if we begin to think uncommonly and stop doing things so commonly, we can at least push ourselves into a better financial position. So thinking uncommonly and dealing with our money uncommonly the way that the wealthy do, hey, you know what? Fake it till you make it. And if we're doing a little bit of what they're doing,
Just a little bit.
they're
That's
not- by the way,
right.
most wealthy people did not get that way in the stock market.
Correct. Absolutely. And then put all their money in 401ks. So think about it. It's consistency. It's doing what the quote unquote the wealthy people do, but it's relevant to that person. So if we get you to think a little bit like that, it could be big time success for yourself in retirement. And that's kind of our pet peeve when we're talking about that kind of stuff with our clientele.
Next question. What are the most important things in your life? And I really ask clients, list them in the order of importance. I mean, go maybe 5 to 1, and both material and non-material things.
You know what? Just before we came on, I think the number one thing, and I think we both would agree with this, Tracy, is that health is probably, if not the number one situation.
You got that right.
And people, I guess, take advantage of, in my case, I'm pretty healthy, but anytime it could change. Anything could change. I mean, both my parents are deceased at a young age. My sister passed away when she was 40 from cancer. So, if anyone knows about this, I do. It really hits close to home. I have some close friends of mine passed away some years ago from ALS. So I can share with all of you that health is a number one priority in my life. And it also with Tracy, because one thing that we both believe in, we believe in healthy eating, working out, staying fit. I mean, we actually would love to be able to talk to people about, how do we get you to lose weight on some of the things that we do and how we do it. And we share that with people all the time. So health, I think, is the number one situation. I mean,
sure, health
without
and faith, absolutely.
Faith, correct.
But it's important. What's important to your life? It's critical for you to understand, because you know what? Then let's base some decisions on that. If your family, if your children are important to you, you might want to take care of them financially. And how can we best do that while also taking care of you?
Right.
So it's important to consider those things.
Big time, very big time things that we talk about. It's funny you're asking those type of questions today, but I am right on board with that.
No, next question.
Next question.
What are some of the threats that will hinder your ability to achieve your true wealth potential?
Ooh.
So what are some of the obstacles, some of the things that could come in
Well,
and
obviously,
really screw up your plan?
Health would be another one. Going back to that, your health could change dramatically. That's
sure.
number
What
one.
if all of a sudden you can't work and you can't bring that check
Right,
in?
and you don't have the right proper. We talked about life insurance, but how disability insurance or long-term care, any of the things of that nature. Another thing that could steer you completely opposite direction if you got sued,
Sure.
lawsuits.
Yeah.
Big
So-
issue. Are you properly planning for that situation that could come up?
Or protecting yourself.
Right. Are you protecting yourself adequately and the right way? Is your financial planner talking to you about that? I don't know. We do all the time. And a lawsuit is something that could
The more
take
all
all the money
you
away.
have going on, the more liable you are for a lawsuit. You know,
Correct.
you have a business, you're successful, you have kids, you have a house with a pool or a trampoline, all these things.
The other thing is, in the flip side of goodness, if you do have good health and if you live a long time, you outlive your money? And that's another issue. I mean, you and I are big believers in that also, but you head up the Medicare division for the firm, and you see people, living into their 90s easily, and now do they have enough of money back where they should have put more dollars in? Will they extend that, lifestyle of what they're used to? That we call it Saturdays. Every day is a Saturday for that person. Will they live in the same comfort zone? We had a client that come in just recently talking just about that. She was 80 years old. Does she have enough? And we were able to take whatever she had left over and to continue to extend that past 90. What happens if she lives close to 100? What happens? So big questions that we're thrown at
some of the others
all the time.
Divorce is a big hindrance to wealth potential.
Right.
I've seen some clients really have economic downturns in their life after a divorce.
Yes.
Loss of a job, no different, So why do we ask this? Why do we ask this, Joe?
Well, we never know. We need to find out information. It could turn on a dime. We need to find out that, is your profession that you're in now, is it going to be around in the next 2 to 5 years? Is that changing? Is it moving to another part of the region of the country? Are you going with that area, going with the company in that area? Do you want to move away from your family? Does anybody looking out for you? Are you responsible for anyone? Is anybody responsible for you? I mean, so there's a number of questions that we have when we sit down with individuals or companies or, businesses, and we discuss this all the time in detail.
What's the old cliche? It's hope for the best, but plan for the worst.
Yep.
We don't expect the worst, but you know what? If we hope for the best, but just plan for that really bad day, the bad day never happens. Well,
It's a good thing.
That's a good thing. But if it does happen, at least you got a plan in
You
play.
better have a redundancy plan in place just in case.
And the last thing we ask people, which sometimes they give us a funny look at first, is how do you primarily process information? And by that, I mean, are you a visual person? Do you like to see things? Are you an auditory person? Do you need to hear them? Emotional, you need to feel what's going on, not literally.
Oh.
Or are you a technical person? You need to really get in there and understand.
You
the
know,
nuts and bolts.
I find Tracy, and I think, and I could be, maybe off key here, but I think most people, they get overwhelmed with the data. There's number crunching. There are people out there that like to be looked at the numbers.
Between, but yeah.
But most people itself, if you could show them graphs, you could show them the conceptual part of what we do, why it works, and not necessarily go really super deep into the details of that specific product. Sometimes we do when it's necessary, but most of the time it's with quality companies, quality strategies. Remember, we talked about this earlier. It's process, not product. It's more about not the club, so to speak. It's the swing on how you swing the golf club, not the golf club itself that we focus in on. And that becomes a conversation that people really enjoy to have with us because they kind of get it. We're not talking over their head, so to speak. We're talking right at them so they understand some of the basics of how we do what we do.
And that's why we ask this question of clients all the time, because if you're a visual learner, I'm showing you graphs and pictures. If you're, a technical person, I want to know to show you graphs and numbers and charts. And I certainly don't want to mix those two things up because somebody who just needs, the basics is going to be quite annoyed when I'm giving them overwhelming amounts of numbers.
And you lose them immediately. I mean, you really do lose them when you start to talk like that. You kind of almost look at their faces, and they're in like a deer in headlights. It's just they're all over the place, and they don't understand. And the last thing, Tracy, I think we need to process this information. You got to have an action plan. You need to take action on some of the things we talked about today. I mean, okay, we talked about insurance. We talked about healthcare issues. We talked about Medicare. We talked about investments. We talked about 401ks, et cetera. Now, all of you that are listening to us, it's time to take action. It's time to pick up the phone, give us a call at 856-751-1771. We've been having a lot of the good, solid people that we all know, the Rob Andrews of the world, the Frank Lobiondos. We had Lou Greenwald. We'll have Senator Beach on. We want to continue to give you solid information about what's happening in our region and information about what's happening globally so you make sound decisions about certain things that are, to us, that are not common, that are uncommon. So it's for us to get that message out to all of you about thinking the real uncommon ways and take action on these things that we talked about.
It's quite inspirational, Joe.
I'm going to be inspired today, Tracy. I'm going to inspire the world today because I think that we need someone like myself, someone like you, to take that ball and continue to run with it down the field and recognizing people need to hear this. We recognize 3 out of every 100 people only make $50,000 a year in our country, and we live in the most powerful, wealthiest country on the planet. There's something wrong with that. We're not taking enough right action on what we do.
Speaking of taking the ball and running with it, I didn't watch any of the game last night, but what I did watch was a little 2-year-old on the Jimmy Kimmel pregame show.
Beat Shaq.
Beat Shaq in
Spanked
a
him.
free throw.
Spanked him.
30 seconds, and
Spanked
he got,
him.
I think, like 8.
He had eight shots, and Shaq had 9.
Shaq had 9.
By the way, San Antonio fans out there, your first win. Nice. Beat the Heat the other day. So all happy. All right, we're going to clean this up and get ready to get out of here. Tracy Kelly, you're at Main Street Money every Saturday from 1 to 2, WVLT. Every Saturday with Joe Yakovich and Tracy Kelly. Tracy, you want to say a few words before we sign off?
Bye, everyone.
Joe Yakovich and Tracy Kelly are registered representatives and financial advisors of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Manasquan, New Jersey, New York, New York, and financial representatives of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. PAS is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. JML Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian.